Hello travelers, Boardman21 here, and today we got all 5 skills for the new Falconer class coming revealed. So we're going to now go in depth and talk about each of those skills, starting in this video with the Falconry. And Falconry is going to be a mastery class. You must be a Falconer to unlock it. As soon as you do unlock the mastery, you instantly gain access to it, just like you do for a lot of the other masteries, such as Shaman getting the Storm Totem. But here, we're going to discuss this skill, and as soon as you put it on your skill bar, you have a Falcon that is automatically summoned, and he's going to fight alongside you. The cool things about the Falcon is that the Falcon is not targetable by enemies, and it cannot die. So unlike all the other pet builds in the game, you don't have to worry about stacking minion health or minion health regen or any of those super annoying minion affixes that never seem to help your minion survive in high corruption anyways, as this pet just can't die. So we're going to have a lot of fun with that. Now, for the main tooltip here, it summons a Falcon that fights with you, and then the active ability is Falcon Strikes, where the Falcon will rapidly hit many enemies in the target area. Scaling tags is going to be minion, companion, dexterity, and by default, the Falcon will be melee and it will be physical. And then of course you get 4% increased damage for every point of dex that you have, and the rogue is based as a dex class, which means it's going to be the main stat that you scale anyways. Going to the top left first, we have Falconer's Mark. Whenever your Falcon hits an enemy with Falcon Strike, it marks them. Your next hit against a marked target deals more damage and consumes the mark. Basically what this mark can do is, as long as your Falcon's hitting enemies, the next damage you do is basically double damage, 105% more. That's really big, especially if you're playing a hybrid build where your Falcon's doing damage and you are. This is going to allow you to do a lot more damage. Up above that, we have Wake of the Wings. When you consume Falconer's Mark, you gain the Falcon's Wake buff for a short duration. This buff grants you increased movement speed, attack, and cast speed. So, basically, your Falcon's already doing hits for you. Now, if you hit an enemy, well, you consume that Falconer's Mark, and now you're going to get up to 5 seconds of increased move speed, attack speed, and cast speed. And remember, attack speed does boost your bow attack speed, which is really nice, as well as throwing attack speed. That is all of the attack speeds that you can have. And then in Falcon's Gale, you have consuming a Falcon's Mark instantly recovers Falcon Strike cooldown, but it now costs additional mana. So if you have a ton of mana and a ton of mana regen, somehow you're able just to scale that up, and that's what you go for, it looks like you'd be able to spam the Falcon Strikes a lot. Of course, Falcon Strike by default already has a huge mana cost, adding another 35. It's going to remind me a lot of like Volcanic Orb, something you really want to spam, but mana is always going to be a problem. But we'll see how it feels in game. And then over here for marking strikes, your Falcon's other hits now have a chance to inflict Falconer's Mark. So, in order to get the Falcon Mark the first time, you have to use Falcon Strikes. It's not just the normal hits of your Falcon. It's got to be with Falcon Strike. However, with points here, any attack that your Falcon does, including its base normal attack, now has a chance to inflict those Falconer marks onto the enemy. And then up above that, we have Avian Arsenal. When you consume a Falconer's Mark, your Falcon gains additional melee damage equal to a portion of your added melee damage, throwing damage, bow damage, or spell damage, depending on the type of ability used to consume the mark. This will last up to 10 seconds and can stack up to 10 times, which is crazy. So your Falcon can get 30% of your damage. So if you're doing, say, a melee build with your melee Falcon, and you use a melee attack, consume it, and say you have a whole bunch of additional melee damage, and this is the added melee damage, mind you, so that's a lot. You can consume this a bunch of times, which means at 10 stacks, it would have 300% of your added damage effectiveness added to the Falcon. I can only assume that if you're really doing a build that's based around this aspect, that your Falcon's going to be doing a ton of damage. I mean, that's getting 300% of your character added damage. It's got to hit like a tank, I would just assume. Then we have Toxic Airdrip. Your Falcon now throws Acid Flask for you. Acid Flask thrown by the Falcon scale with your stats and your Acid Flask tree, but can apply Falcon's Mark from marking strikes. And I believe that's supposed to say, but can't. It's weirdly worded, so we'll have to wait to see if that tooltip gets fixed. If it can apply it, that'd be sweet, but I'm assuming that it can't. So weird that's got the word but in there. This effect consumes mana equal to a portion of your Acid Flask mana cost and has a 6-second cooldown. Then with Flask Satchel, your Falcon has additional charges, and above that, we have Pericotin. I'm not even going to try that one again. When you directly use Acid Flash, your Falcon has a chance to gain additional Acid Flash charges. So the more you use Acid Flash, the more your Falcon is going to use it. That's pretty sweet. Working our way over to the right side of the tree, we have Avian Stamina, which gives your Falcon strikes additional hits. Then with a point in Hunter's Spoil, when your Falcon kills an enemy or hits a boss or rare, it restores health and mana to you based on your total attributes. So this is one of those things that's going to continue to scale into the end game as you add more stats to your gear. We have Bird of Prey. Falcon strikes instantly kill enemies that are below a certain threshold, so you have 16% cool from here. For the Blood Dance, if Falcon Strike kills an enemy, it will hit an additional time. Additional Falcon Strikes hits a boss or rare, or when a Falcon Strike strikes a rare or a boss, it has a chance to additionally strike as well, which is pretty big. It seems like this is a good way to get extra hits on single target. I like that. We have Razor Rings. Now cause your Falcon to swoop down in a line in front of you instead of attacking enemies individually. So you saw in the gameplay, I think there's gameplay of it doing both the knife where you see a whole bunch of lines cutting across, and then you have this way where it's just going to do its damage in a straight line. And then Wingspan, a portion of your global increased area for area skill now applies to the width of Falcon strikes. I'm curious how wide we can actually get that. It'd be cool if you could do like a full screen wipe, but I doubt it. There's really usually not that much area that you can get. I think gloves is like the only place you can put it, maybe with weapon as well, but that's about it. Additionally, Falcon Strikes deals more damage if you have directly used an area skill in the past 8 seconds. You can get up to 20% more damage out of it, and up to 80% increased area, or I should say Falcon Strike's area gets 80% of your area increased to skills. Going down here to the bottom, we have Side by Side. When you directly use a melee, throwing, or bow attack and hit at least one enemy, you reduce a portion of Falconer Strike's remaining cooldown. That's pretty sick. So the more that you attack, the more often you're going to be able to use Falconer Strike. Falcon Screech. After the first hit of Falcon Strike, your Falcon lets out a screech which slows and applies frailty to enemies around it. Pretty cool. Frightful Feathers. Your Falcon Screech now also fears enemies it hits, but can only happen once every 10 seconds at most. Trained to Hunt. A portion of the highest of your global increased melee damage, increased throwing damage, bow damage now applies to your Falcon. Highest added crit also applies, respective of the type used. And when you use a melee, throwing, or bow attack and critically strike at least one enemy, your Falcon gets a portion of your global melee, throwing, or bow critical strike multiplier, respectively. Wow, so you can basically scale all of your stats and build the way you're building. So our Falcon is a melee Falcon, so if you play like melee with it, you can give it a bunch of your melee added crit chance, crit multiplier, and damage. So it scales up with you quite well, it seems. It looks like you can get up to 75% of all those and 25% of the crit multi. But you can actually get multiple stacks of this. Twice per second, and it lasts 10 seconds. So that's 20 stacks. 500% of your crit multi. I mean, some of these seem pretty powerful. We've got Feather Knives. Your Falcon now uses Feather Knives at a nearby enemy with a 10-second cooldown. Sky Crasher. Wow. Sky Chaser. A portion of your global throwing attack speed now applies to the Falcon's Feather Knives ability as increased cooldown recovery. So your Falcon can now get increased cooldown recovery based on your throwing attack speed at a 2.25 multiplier. That's pretty crazy. So if you have 100% throwing attack speed, you're going to have 225% cooldown recovery speed for the Falcon's throwing abilities, that's a lot. That's going to reduce it quite a bit, allowing him to throw a lot more often. As we go to the bottom left here, we have Falconer's Journey. Your Falcon gets damage per level and damage per dex. That's pretty crazy. I really like these ones because these let you scale the Falcon damage basically all the way into the end game, all the way till you hit level 100, and as you add tier 6, tier 7 exalted affixes of dex onto your gear. That's a really big way to get some damage out of him. And those are some big multipliers as well. I mean, you're talking about at level 100 with 100 dex, 200% more damage off of all the base damage you have ways to add. So that's a pretty crazy note, and it's right off the bat. Definitely going to be like the first node you want to take. Is it a bird? Your Falcon deals more global damage. This effect is doubled for Falcon strikes. You can, with Watchful Eye, have it prioritized close to you. With a point and sidekick, prioritize close to the recent target that you recently targeted. We have Agile Prey. Falcon damage to moving targets is increased. And Dark Plumage, Black Arrow chance on Falcon hits. It can drop the Black Arrow from Quiver from you. That's pretty cool. Rending talents, a portion of your chance to bleed, poison, shred armor, shred resist, and slow on hit now also apply to your Falcon's hit, and you can get that 200%. You literally can have the Falcon have double your ailment chances by stacking your own ailment chances. That's actually pretty nuts. And that's going to wrap it up for this tree. I'm going to leave you guys with some gameplay, but overall, this tree has some interesting way. You have dots, you have ways to scale the damage with you, the Falconer's Mark to boost your damage, the Acid Flask, the culling that you have, and the wing, the Falcon Strikes damage, just all the different things that you can stack here are pretty sick. So a lot of interesting ways to play around with the falconry, which is just the start of the Falconer class. So that's going to wrap it up for this video. Here's some gameplay for you guys, and as always, stay safe and have a good one.
Not happening. Not happening.